I was born a master at playing it safe and avoiding death, but as fate would have it, I was reincarnated into a household belonging to the most upright and stern Grand Censor in the capital. My father is known for being unyieldingly stubborn. To prove his point to the emperor even in death, he already bought his own coffin and placed it in the main hall. My mother is a fierce daughter from a line of loyal martyrs. For the sake of national righteousness, she's always ready to take up her blade and go to the front, prepared to die on the battlefield. One of my brothers spends all day offending the powerful by calling out their corruption. The other, in order to guard a lone city, swore to live and die with its walls. I'm the only one who clings to life and fears death. I dug 10 escape tunnels in our family home. I even wear 3 layers of soft armor to sleep. Every night, I sleep clutching my escape maps. I often find myself wondering if I was taken home by the wrong family of lunatics. Until today, when an awe-inspiring maid from the palace showed up at our door with a half-shredded blood-stained letter. It turns out she is the true eldest daughter of the censor's household. I was so excited I nearly knelt down and kowtowed to her 3 times. I knew it. A coward like me who dives under the table at the first sound of thunder. How could I possibly be the biological daughter of these fearless martyrs? Quickly, let's do the blood test. There's no telling when this whole family might get executed one day. I couldn't endure this life for another second. Where's the clean water? Where's the silver needle? I was more eager than anyone. I snatched the basin from the maid's hands. Father, hurry. Be quick about it. Father stepped forward, staring at Ao Shui with a solemn expression. He pricked his finger, and a drop of blood fell into the water. Ao Shui also hardened her heart and cut her finger. The entire family stared intently at that palm-sized porcelain bowl. The 2 drops of blood slowly drifted on the surface, and then completely merged together. It's done. I was so ecstatic that I turned and left immediately. I sprinted back to my bedroom in a frantic rush. I grabbed the 3 large travel bags I had packed in advance and swung them onto my back. Ao Shui was completely stunned. She never expected this move. Shen Mingxian, what are you doing? Moving out. I'm leaving the accounts for you. The jade pendant for the eldest daughter, and a list of 36 outfits for every season. I stuffed them all into her arms. Oh, and keep this safe. I tossed her a worn-out little notebook. Ao Shui glanced down at it. It was the survival Bible, and the first page was annotated. Father goes to court to criticize the emperor once a month. Prepare for a potential execution 3 days in advance. The path to the burial grounds. Sneak out through the back way immediately after court. Ao Shui was left in a daze, but I didn't care. With my bags on my back, I took a step toward the main gate. Suddenly, a pair of arms tightly hugged my legs. It was Father, the Grand Imperial Censor himself, a veteran official of 3 reigns. He held onto my thigh, wailing and crying, "Daughter, your father has failed you. It's because I didn't care enough. I couldn't protect a peaceful life for you. I've made you suffer so much. Don't leave. If you leave, it'll be the death of me. Father, let go. I really mean it. I love you dearly. Ha 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 ha. The more you say that, the worse I feel." With a loud crack, Mother charged out carrying her 18-foot serpent spear. She slammed the spear into the doorframe. Who dares to drive away the darling I've loved for 16 years? I'll chop them to pieces. Mother, please watch out for the weapon. No one is forcing me. I'm the one who wants to slip away. Ao Shui's face turned completely pale. She gave a cold snort. Fine then. I'll go and report this to the authorities. Reporting it? Wouldn't that provoke the emperor? The emperor already has his eye on the censor's house. Considering how often Father daily berates the monarch, the entire clan would likely be thrown into the death cells that night. I had to grab Ao Shui back. Don't report it. She's right. You are the biological daughter. This house is yours to manage. The money is all yours. Everything is yours. My 2 brothers happened to run home just then. My eldest brother slapped his chest hard. Good. One is my biological sister, and even if the King of Heaven himself came today, the other is the sister I've doted on for 16 years. We are keeping both of them. My second brother decisively snatched my bundle away. He ripped it open violently. Then, an 8-gene light gilded umbrella, 4 sets of stealth talismans, 3 volumes of wilderness survival secrets, and a handmade medical kit clattered and spilled all over the ground. Mother's eyes turned red. Daughter, you even have the stealth talismans ready? Were you planning to go and live as a beggar? I was dragged and shoved back into the house. It was 1 a.m. at night. The lights in the courtyard were all extinguished. I felt my way around in the dark and pushed open the entrance under my bed. I crawled into secret tunnel number 3. I spent 3 years digging this tunnel. It leads directly to an ancient temple's cavern on the east side of the city. The exit is hidden right under an Arhat statue's backside. I dragged my small bundle and crawled for 20 meters. Suddenly, a beam of light shone ahead. Ao Shui was waiting at a turn in the tunnel, staring at me without any emotion. Caught you. How did you find your way here? Page 37 of your escape manual records it. Tunnel number 3 entrance is under the bed. Recommended for rainy nights so it's harder to leave footprints. Shen Mingshu, being so sneaky in the middle of the night. You're trying to run off with the censor family's banknotes, aren't you? I am not. Ao Shui ripped open my bundle. Mantu buns, wine for cleaning wounds, fever-reducing pills, 3 matches, and a crudely hand-sewn gas mask. Ao Shui froze for a second. Then, she called the entire clan over. Father held an oil lamp, looking at the evacuation equipment, neatly arranged in the tunnel. His face was covered in tears. Mother picked up that gas mask. Her hands trembling. Look, our girl sewed this herself for our safety. Big brother got down on the ground, checking the items one by one. Bruise liniment, fever pills, bandages, they're all life-saving items. She didn't take a single valuable thing. Mother suddenly burst into loud crying. The girl knows our family could fall into trouble at any moment. She prepared these escape bags for everyone in advance. Even when she slips away herself, she doesn't take money. She leaves it all for us. Aoshwe stood to one side, her worldview completely shattered. She became the first to sob uncontrollably. Father started fussing over me again, making me feel worse than death. Is everyone in this family out of their minds? That night, Father set a new rule. To prevent Mingshu from suffering and having to beg for food, he ordered my eldest brother to lead soldiers overnight to redirect the Huijiang River into the first 5 tunnels. I collapsed in the courtyard, watching the river water pour into my escape tunnels, feeling like I was being slowly poisoned to death. Tunnel number 3. I had practiced running through it 3 times. Tunnel number 4, I dug for 2 years. Tunnel number 5, I specially laid out markers, and now it's all destroyed. My tears were real, but in everyone's eyes, those were filial tears shed for the sake of the family. Mother hugged me, and said something that made me go cold all over. Daughter, tomorrow when your father goes to the ministry, if you still want to dig tunnels, Mother will dig them with you. I don't want you to dig them with me. I beg you all to stop talking nonsense. When Aoshwe left, she paused for a second at the door. Shin Mingshu, this playing hard to get routine of yours, I will expose it completely sooner or later. Aoshwe, you've seen through it, so can't you just be kind and let me slip away? But she just let out a cold snort and walked away. The tunnels were ruined. I'll just be sick then. Tomorrow I'll continue to stay in bed. The routine lasted for 3 days until Mother woke me up with a bowl of restorative soup because the emperor was holding a night banquet and specifically named both of the censor's daughters to attend, even including me, though I was just an afterthought in Aoshwe's shadow. Noble consort Wang was beaming like a flower, but anyone could see her face was full of hidden daggers. I heard the censor's house gained another daughter. How novel. I sat down next to Aoshwe. Aoshwe suddenly spoke up, reporting to Her Highness. This humble girl is the biological child of the censor. The one beside me is merely here because of the past 16 years. She had plotted this for a while. She wanted me to lose face in front of the noble consort and be despised by the emperor. That way, she could rightfully kick me out of the mansion. Her Highness is right. I suddenly stood up and knocked over my own wine cup. This girl is just a vulgar village woman. I don't know etiquette and I am illiterate. Yesterday, I even sneaked into the censor's pantry and wolfed down half a roast chicken. I'm timid and cowardly. I'm afraid of bugs, carriages, and thunder. The last time I saw a crawler, I was so scared I jumped off the 2nd floor. The ladies in the hall all covered their faces with their fans, their eyes full of disdain. The more Aoshwe listened, the more she felt something was wrong. Shen Mingshu, you. Before she could finish her sentence, 3 figures suddenly dropped from the ceiling beams of the main hall. The candles were extinguished in a flash. Screams erupted. Assassins. They charged straight for the noble consort to kill her. My body moved before my brain could. The survival instincts I practiced for 16 years drove me. I slid from my stool straight under the table. My sliding path happened to trip up the leg of the leading assassin. He fell face first onto the floor tiles. The second assassin was lightning fast, firing an arrow toward where I seemed to be. With a shower of sparks, the arrow snapped against my gold-thread armor. I wear it all year round. It's Shin Mingshu's ultimate trump card for staying alive. The assassin stared at the broken arrow for half a second. In that half second, I pulled my pepper spray out of my sleeve and gave him a full blast. The assassin was left speechless, rolling on the ground and howling in pain. The third assassin's blade was already at Aoshwe's throat. I reacted instinctively, pouncing on Aoshwe and pinning her to the ground. I sprayed the pepper spray again, and in the blink of an eye, all 3 assassins were taken out. The palace guards arrived after a while. The emperor stepped out from behind the screen. First, he looked around, then he looked at the blind, screaming assassins. Finally, he looked at me, lying on the floor covered in soup. The emperor laughed heartily. Ha 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 ha, a daughter of a general indeed. Disregarding her own life, bravely saving the noble consort. Nonsense. I was just trying to save my own skin. That day, the emperor bestowed upon me the title Princess of True Integrity, rewarded me with the gold medal, a manor, and added a sentence that was the death of me. This girl is a model for all the noble ladies of Great Chu. She shall not leave the capital for the rest of her life. Aoshwe stared at that gold medal, and for the first time, a look of confusion appeared in her eyes. Is this girl just acting, or is she really that cowardly? The truth behind the banquet assassination was revealed 3 days later in a secret letter. The assassins were planted by the emperor himself. The whole thing, from start to finish, was a staged show. His Majesty wanted to use the assassination attempt as an excuse to force father to surrender his military authority and the power to appoint officials at the censorate, and there was an even deeper scheme behind it. The moment the decree was issued, the entire family was terrified. To reward the deep grace I had shown, I was to be married to the Grand Marshal of the North, to stabilize national relations. The Grand Marshal is a man who kills, without blinking, a madman who skins prisoners for fun. This isn't a reward. This is a death sentence. Father immediately treated the decree as his end. He had the coffin in the main hall, moved to the very center. He put on his official robes, planning to die at the morning court. Mother didn't say a single word. She turned and went into the back courtyard, sharpening her blade all night long. My eldest brother went to gather old comrades. My second brother was still at his post, his fate unknown and his message not arriving. Aoshwe stood in the courtyard clutching her sword, and as for me, I curled up under my quilt, clutching a leaky ladle, digging deep. I pulled a key from under my bed. I had been working on this tunnel for 10 years. Alone. With a single shovel, I dug out the ultimate escape route. The entrance was in a dry well under the rockery in the back garden. The exit was at a hunter's shack 15 miles outside the city. The entire path was reinforced with wooden supports. There was a ventilation hole every 50 steps. Even father didn't know this tunnel existed. I moved forward inch by inch. Halfway through, I heard a heavy, vibrating sound. The sound of horses. The rhythm of galloping horses echoed through the ventilation holes. I looked up. Thousands of torches lit up the alleyways around the censor's mansion. Tonight, at least 3,000 iron cavalry had surrounded the censor's house. Then, I heard Aoshwe's voice, dressed in red and holding her blade. She stood at the gate and shouted, "If you want her married, fine. You'll have to step over my cold, dead body first." The guard Tang Meng laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha ha, no one from the censor's house is getting out alive today. The emperor has already decided." The guards charged in, clashing with the household. Aoshwe took a hit to her arm, blood staining her sleeve. Father rushed out, only to be pinned into the mud by the guards. Mother's serpent spear swept 2 of them down, but more men swarmed over her. My eldest brother was pinned down, paralyzed on the ground, his forehead covered in blood. I was in the secret tunnel, watching this scene through the ventilation hole. The exit was just ahead. In just a few more minutes, I could get away. I'd escape and head south. I had already bought land in Nanjing. I had saved up reward money. I'd change my name, become an ordinary citizen, and live out my years in peace. I moved forward again. I walked 10 meters and then stopped. My mind was filled with the image of the blood on Aoshwe's arm. She had been in the censor's house for less than a month. This family had owed her for 16 years. Yet she put on her red robes and stood at the very front to protect them. I moved another 10 meters. I heard father's wails coming through the air hole, choked as if someone was strangling him. In his whole life, father had only ever wailed like that in front of me. My fingernails dug into the soil. The exit was right there. I could see the moonlight outside. Comfortable moonlight. Peaceful moonlight. I took one step toward it. Then I heard mother's voice. "Daughter, as long as you get away, it's fine." Even as she was being held down, she was still cursing. She was happy that her girl had finally escaped. I closed my eyes, recalling the way father used to hug my leg, the way mother would protect me, the way my brother would tear apart my bundles, and even Aoshwe, the girl who always looked at me with suspicion. Right now, they were all shielding the mountain of my life. I stood at the edge of freedom, and shouted the boldest words of my life. "Damn it, I really owe you ruthless people big time." I turned back and ran. I pulled my most prized equipment from the bottom of my bag. I slammed my palm against a hidden board in the tunnel and burst out of the ground beneath the guard captain's feet. "I, Shin Mingshu, am not running this time. I value my life, but I never said I couldn't kill enemies." A poison needle shot precisely into the guard captain's throat. His eyes bulged, and he collapsed to the ground. Everyone stared at the person who had just crawled out of the dirt. Disheveled hair, face covered in filth, holding a toxic needle launcher, looking like a vengeful ghost. I turned and ran immediately. As I ran, I threw out smoke bombs. A yellow gas shrouded the entire censor's mansion. The guards were blinded and choking. This smoke was a concoction of pepper powder, sulfur, and quicklime that I had cooked up, originally meant to cover my escape. I now dove into the gas. I grabbed Aoshwe's sleeve. "Move out. Shen Mingshu? You didn't leave? Stop talking and move." I dragged her toward the dry well. On the way, I grabbed father. He pulled up mother. My eldest brother crawled along behind us. The whole family was together. We scrambled down into the tunnel and sprinted for our lives. After 500 meters, the tunnel suddenly widened into an underground sanctuary lit as bright as day, revealing itself to their stunned eyes. 6 stone rooms, a cellar packed with grain and supplies, walls full of defensive weapon racks, poison needles at the ready, even a natural spring in the corner, and a portable stove. The entire clan was dumbfounded. Father's voice trembled. "Daughter, are you planning a rebellion?" I shoved Aoshwe onto a stone bench, angrily wiping the dirt from my cheeks. "I built this so I could survive. After you guys failed at a rebellion. When did you dig this?" My brother walked around the supplies, looking more and more shocked. "I started when I was 6. The day father first brought a coffin into the main hall, the room fell silent. You, by yourself, did this for 10 years? Mother's voice broke. Aoshwe suddenly grabbed my hand. Looking at a scratch on my arm that was bleeding from some unknown moment. It's just a scratch. You're bleeding. Clean it up. She didn't say anything else. She took wound powder from the medicine cabinet and applied it for me. Then she said, "Thank you, sister." That was the first time she ever called me sister. My eyes suddenly felt hot. The sound of guards searching echoed from above. But they would never find tunnel number 10. Since the entrance was at the bottom of the dry well, the mechanism to open the door required pressing 3 specific marked bricks at once. It was only then that it would open. It was the result of 7 different designs and 7 revisions. After searching all night, the guards could only report back. The entire Censor's clan had vanished into thin air. The emperor was furious and immediately branded the Censor's family as rebels. He put a bounty of 10,000 gold bars on us. Father grabbed a blade, wanting to charge out. Rebellion? I, Shinchongli, have been loyal my whole life. How dare he frame me for treason? I'll go and fight him to the death. I slammed my hand onto the stone table. Die if you want to. But don't waste the food I've spent 10 years hoarding. The whole clan stared at me. From now on, listen to me. I slapped an escape map onto the table. We leave through the tunnels and head out of the pass. To find second brother at the border. The reason is simple. Second brother has troops. The border is far away. And the emperor's reach isn't that long. Besides, I pointed at the map. At the route filled with red circles. These 17 markers on the road are safe houses I spent 5 years buying across the country. Father's mouth twitched. He finally muttered something. This girl is definitely not my biological child. The escape took 2 days. By the 3rd night, everyone took refuge 20 miles outside the city in a small farmyard I had prepared. This sanctuary was something I bought when I was 12. Under the pseudonym Shin Xiao Qiao. In the cellar, there was enough cured meat and water to last 3 months. Aoshwe spread the half-shredded blood letter on the table, reading it over and over again. These bloodstains were given to me by my foster father before he took his last breath. It detailed my true origins. But there was only half a page. He didn't have time to hand me the other half. I scanned that withered piece of cloth. Aoshwe, give me the blood letter. She hesitated for a moment before handing it over. I took a bottle of iodine from my medical kit, along with a bottle of rice water. First, I applied the iodine to the bloodstained spots. When nothing happened, I applied the rice water. A faint blue-purple color began to emerge on the fabric. It was handwriting. A hidden message. Someone had used the blank space of the letter to write with a special solution. The Prime Minister's hidden message contained another revelation. I leaned in to read. 12 years ago, the Emperor sent assassins into the prison. At the wet nurse's place, the real daughter was swapped with a child from Luluo village. This was the leverage used against the censor. If Shinchongli ever dared to speak out, his biological daughter would be eliminated silently. After reading it 3 times, his hand was trembling. It was him. It was him from the very beginning. Father's sword slammed into the dirt, sending up a sharp sound. I have been loyal my whole life. How dare he use my own flesh and blood as a pawn? For 16 years, Aoshwe was left to wander the streets, enduring cold stares. Begging for scraps was no coincidence. It was the Emperor's conspiracy. Aoshwe stood silent. Mother began to wail in grief. Mother cried. And father cried too. His fist struck the wall, cracking the mud surface. I huddled in the corner, clutching that bottle of iodine, watching my weeping family. My nose stung with tears. Aoshwe looked at me with red, swollen eyes. Shen Mingshu, I can't believe it. Sister, I used to think you were incredibly calculating. And now? Now, I think you're a calculating person, of good character. I curled my lip. From now on, everyone has a job. You focus on killing the enemies on the battlefield. I'll handle the supplies, the weapons, and the retreats. Aoshwe wiped her tears and smiled. We set out the next morning. We immediately ran into a crisis. A group of horsemen emerged on the road. They weren't ordinary guards. I dragged Aoshwe into the dense forest. We retreated twice, cutting through 3 thickets. My eldest brother and mother provided cover. A fight to the death began. I led everyone through 2 turns and pushed aside the rotten roots of a tree by the road, ushering them inside. This was a roadside refuge, connected by an emergency tunnel. Even though it was only 30 paces long, the exit was behind a cliff on the other side of a small river. After crossing the tunnel, I pulled a hemp rope by the entrance. Dozens of glue canisters buried in the secret path exploded with a loud bang. The assassins were left in agonizing gasps. Aoshwe stood guard by the river when the dazed and choking assassins stumbled out of the exit. She swung her sword down. How satisfying. Father stared at the bodies lying in the mud, then suddenly turned to me. Daughter. These traps. Just how many did you leave along the way? Not many. How many? There are 18 more ahead. Father fell silent. Half a month later, we reached the mountain pass. From afar, we could see the isolated city. Tattered military flags hung from the city walls. Outside was a dense camp of enemy troops. How long has the city been besieged? Half a month. The city is out of food and supplies. General Shen said he would perish with the city. Another martyr to be. How do we get in? Ao Shui stared at the tight enemy formation. And frowned. The Shen family looked at me again. 3 years ago, when I came here with second brother, I dug a tunnel in the wasteland north of the city. The family didn't even want to speak anymore. Why? Just in case. This secret passage wasn't long, only 200 paces. The entrance was under a fake coffin in a graveyard outside the city. Who would dig up a dead man's grave? The exit was under a floorboard in the city's granary. I led the family openly into the graveyard, lifted the coffin lid, and we dropped into the hole. When we emerged, we were inside the city. The moment second brother encountered us in the granary, the bowl in his hand shattered on the ground. Father? Mother? How did you? He scanned the group. He spotted Ao Shui. Who is this girl? Your biological sister. It's a long story. Ao Shui cupped her hands. Brother. Second brother finally looked at me. Where did you come in from? The secret passage I dug. Second brother froze for a moment, then laughed. Ha ha ha. I knew it. Back then, you insisted on staying at the border with me. I thought you were here to experience military life. I was here to scout the area. The situation in the city was worse than expected. Fewer than 800 soldiers remained, half were wounded, and food would only last 3 days. Second brother pointed outside the city. They attack tomorrow. If they take the city, they'll kill everyone. Father drew his sword. We fight to the last man. Mother raised her blade. Clear the battlefield. Eldest brother threw a punch. Ao Shui drew her sword. Here we go again, the family's loyalty contest. Second brother looked at me. Mingshu. I know you care about the family's safety. Take father and mother through the tunnel. I'll hold the rear. I looked at the exhausted soldiers on the walls. Looked at the civilians hiding in their homes, too terrified to make a sound. And then I looked at this group of people, who couldn't wait to die for their country. Then, I opened the bag. I had carried all the way from the capital my incredibly heavy ultimate escape kit. To be accurate, it was an arsenal. 20 pounds of modified explosives, 30 timed mechanisms, 100 hooked crossbow bolts, plus 6 barrels of special lubricant and 10 bags of itching powder. My family stared at me as if I were a black market smuggler. Leave? Why leave? I've spent 10 years collecting these treasures. I have to use them once. Everyone, follow my lead. Ao Shui, lead the troops for a frontal feint. Eldest and second brother, guard the main gate. I'll be on the tower doing what I do best. What's that? Setting traps to break the enemy formation. The drums rolled as 30,000 enemy troops approached the walls. Once the siege ladders were set, the first wave of soldiers began to climb. I had coated the outer walls with 3 full barrels of premium lubricant. The soldiers only reached the midpoint before their hands slipped, and they all tumbled down in a heap. When they stood up to charge again, a cloud of powder hit them in the face. As they inhaled the powder, their whole bodies began to itch uncontrollably. They dropped their weapons and scratched themselves desperately. Many scratched so hard they fell off the ramparts. The people below were crushed. And also infected by the itching powder. It spread from person to person, soldier to soldier. The siege turned into a massive, collective scratching party. The guards on the tower were stunned. Second brother's lieutenant stammered, third Miss Shin. Is this some kind of nuclear tactic? It's a survival tactic. Turn the enemy into a mindless mess. Then make your move. Except today, there was no need to run. Ao Shui stood at the front of the tower in her red dress, gripping a steel blade. The lucky few who managed to climb up were already disoriented by the itching powder and lubricant. They had no strength to resist her. Her blade was broad and fierce. As she took down the 20th soldier, "Sister, turn left." Understood. I pulled the mechanism on the left wall. My modified multi-shot crossbow began to fire rapidly. Bolts with barbs and a hint of poison covered the tower in a fan shape. The enemies on the left were turned into pincushions. After 2 hours, the enemy commander finally lost his patience. He personally mounted his warhorse and led his elite guard forward. All forces, charge with me. Level the city. 50 paces in front of the gate. I had hollowed out the ground. The surface was covered with a thin layer of sand and turf. The moment the commander's horse stepped on it, rumble, man and horse fell into a pit 3 fathoms deep. The pit was filled with iron spikes. The commander's leg was instantly broken. Ao Shui spotted the opening from the tower. She grabbed a hemp rope and swung down. She captured the enemy commander. I stood guard the whole time, shouting at the top of my lungs. The 30,000 troops outside were first demoralized by the lubricant and the itching powder. Then they were hit by poisoned arrows and hidden pits. Their general was captured alive. They were in total chaos. Second brother decisively opened the gate and charged out with his remaining 300 iron cavalry. Ao Shui followed closely behind. 300 versus 30,000? But the other side wasn't an army anymore. They were 30,000 miserable souls scratching themselves to death. A total victory. The enemy fled for 100 miles. The prestige of the fake and real daughters, after this battle, shook the entire 9 provinces. Before I could even celebrate, news came from the capital. The emperor had raised 100,000 troops, with the prime minister personally overseeing the battle. Their target wasn't the border, but this very city. 100,000 troops arrived outside the city 3 days later. The commander was the prime minister, Zhao Guangyi, father's rival for 18 years. He used the censor's fall to crush him. This old fox had completely wiped out father's old connections in the capital. He sat on his horse and shouted to the tower, "If you surrender and take your own life, I can guarantee the safety of the citizens in this city. Otherwise, I will slaughter everyone." The cries of the civilians echoed from all directions. They had just survived an external siege, only to face the swords of their own government. Father gripped his sword, his face grim. I recognized that look. He wanted to sacrifice himself again. I pressed down on his hand. "Father, give me 3 days. What do you want to do?" "What I do best." The next day, I stood on the city wall, facing Zhao Guangyi's army, crying heart-wrenchingly, "Lord Prime Minister, have mercy. My father went mad to rebel. It has nothing to do with me. I've been a coward since I was a child. You know that." Zhao Guangyi sat on his horse, watching my performance with great interest. On the third day, Ao Shui and I staged a massive fight on the tower. "You coward. To think you would do something so disgraceful. I'm just trying to survive. You're the one who doesn't know what's good for you. You're seeking your own destruction." At the end, I publicly declared my separation from the censor's mansion. The Shin family's troubles have nothing to do with me. I'm the fake daughter. I want to surrender. Then, I tied up my younger brother and brought him to the wall. Ao Shui tried to slash me but was held back by eldest brother. Zhao Guangyi was overjoyed. "Good. Open the gates. I will personally accept the surrender." He led 3,000 elite guards, strutting into the city. As soon as his horse's hooves stepped inside, a heavy rumbling sounded above. The dragon-slaying stones fell. The front gate was sealed. And the back gate too. 3,000 guards and Zhao Guangyi were trapped within the inner walls. Zhao Guangyi looked up and saw me standing on the tower. "Zhao Guangyi, I'll tell you the truth. I really do fear death. That's why I like to eliminate anyone who might kill me first." From the hidden windows within the walls, rows of black crossbows emerged. Zhao Guangyi's face turned pale. Ao Shui, blade in hand, walked slowly from a side gate. "The censor's daughter is here to settle the score." The army outside remained oblivious. The prime minister's head was hung at the city gate. The 100,000 troops lost their leader. The vanguard defected, and the reserves fled. After 3 days, the 100,000 soldiers either surrendered or scattered. They vanished like smoke. 7 days after the prime minister's death, father made the most painful decision of his life. The scrolls of loyalty that had hung in the hall for 18 years were put away. He had been a loyal subject for 18 years, only for his daughter to be stolen, his family to be targeted, and civilians used as pawns. When the word rebellion left his lips, it was like breaking a rib. I made 100 copies of the proof that the emperor had swapped the infants. Overnight, using the intelligence network I had spent years building with heavy investment, it spread across all 5 provinces within 3 days. Today, it shocked the world. Thousands of people felt betrayed. Rebel armies rose like a tide. But what truly made us unstoppable wasn't just military strength. For 10 years, I had built refuges across the Great Chu state. Military supplies. These outposts formed a perfect logistics line. From the border to the capital. Every 50 miles, there was one of my secret shops. Rations, sharp blades, medicine, anything we needed. Originally, I set up these points for my own escape. Now, they were repurposed into a strategic backbone for our campaign. Father asked that question again. "Daughter, just how much money did you spend?" I thought about 16 years of saving. All the secret funds and profits from my herb business. I spent it all. "How much?" "Roughly 40,000 taels." Father almost couldn't stay on his feet. A month later, our army reached the imperial capital. The emperor locked the 9 gates, clinging to his dying reign. The walls were high and thick. Even though morale was low, there were still over 20,000 defenders. A direct assault would mean countless casualties. "Don't attack," I said. "Why?" second brother asked. "Because it's unnecessary." I spread out the final blueprint. It was the underground map of the imperial palace. When I was 14, I disguised myself as a palace maid and snuck into the palace for 3 days. During those 3 days, I didn't study etiquette. I was scouting the palace's foundation. After returning, I spent 2 years using the city sewer system to reach the supporting structures under the palace. I filled the surrounding areas with a massive amount of gunpowder. "You were planting gunpowder under the palace at 14? Eldest brother's voice cracked. Back then, I didn't really want to blow him up. I just wanted to leave myself a way out, in case he tried to execute my whole family. Better safe than sorry. I went alone through the sewer and entered the basement under the main hall. Everything was ready. I didn't light the fuse. Instead, I emerged from the end of the drain and appeared before the emperor's bed. The emperor was slumped on his throne, clutching the imperial seal. 10 imperial assassins were by his side. Their blades were drawn in an instant. "Someone is here." I pointed at the detonator in my hand. "Your Majesty, do you know how much gunpowder is buried under your throne?" 300 pounds. Enough to turn this hall and the surrounding buildings into dust. One end of the fuse is tied to my waist. The other end is down there. You can tell them to kill me, but if I release this rope, the weight will drop and ignite the line. We'll all go up together. The Emperor stared at me blankly. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. I just don't want to die. That's why I don't want to start a battle. I don't want to lose my life. I only ask your majesty to sign this. I pulled an abdication decree from my sleeve and placed it before him. Leave with dignity, or die in a blaze of glory. The Emperor stared at me for a long time. Finally, he picked up the brush. The sound of the imperial seal hitting the paper was heavy. On the day the new emperor ascended, a spring rain fell over the capital. I stood outside the golden throne hall in 5 layers of armor. I looked twice as large in my princess robes, but I felt incredibly secure. The new emperor was a virtuous prince from a branch family. Father and the rebel forces had jointly supported him. The first decree cleared the censor's name. It announced to the world that Shin Chonli was wrongly accused. The second decree officially recognized Ao Shue's lineage. She was entered into the family register and titled the Protector General. She was given command of the border troops to defend the state. Ao Shue, the warrior daughter, stood in her armor in the hall. She stood tall as she received the decree. The third decree was to reward me. Shen Mingshu. The new emperor looked at me with interest. You helped protect the throne, save the city, and end the rebellion. What reward do you seek? The whole family was watching. Father thought I should ask for a high-ranking title. Mother thought I should ask for a good husband. Eldest and second brother placed bets. One thought gold bars, the other a mansion. Ao Shue didn't guess. She knew me best. I immediately knelt down. Your Majesty, I would like that piece of land on the South Mountain. What for? To build a place with deep moats, 3 underground levels, and fire, poison, and earthquake protection, my exclusive bunker. The new emperor laughed. He laughed so hard he almost fell over. I was titled Princess Changel, awarded 5,000 taels of silver, and fine silks. As I bowed, I heard the officials whispering behind me. Princess Omping, peace and safety. That title suits me well. After the court session, Ao Shue was waiting at the palace gates. She pulled out the commander's seal. Sister, keep this for me. I was stunned. Your military seal? My safety. From now on, she would fight for the world, leaving her back for me to protect. I stared at her for a long time. She pressed the seal into my palm, then turned to leave. After a few steps, she turned back. Don't lose it. I gripped the warm commander's seal. Standing on the imperial street before the palace gates, I felt a burning heat in my palm. A grand reunion at the censor's mansion. Father finally did something a normal person would do. He chopped up the coffin that had sat in the hall for 10 years. Axe by axe, he turned it into firewood. Mother used that wood to cook a table full of dishes. Braised ribs, steamed fish, and sautéed bamboo shoots, all my favorite foods. It was Ao Shue's first time eating them. Having grown up on the streets, she had never had a proper meal. Mother kept filling her bowl, her eyes red with tears. Eldest and second brother shared some wine. Their faces were flushed with wine. They kept saying how incredibly badass the third sister was. Father was sprawled in the main seat, drinking cup after cup of sweet potato wine until the end. Suddenly, he spoke. Daughter, Father used to think your obsession with survival was a disgrace. I didn't say a word, but now I understand. You are the one in this house who wants everyone to live the most. He finished speaking and closed his eyes. He clutched his cup, staring at the fragments of the destroyed coffin. I picked up a piece of rib meat and chewed it for a long time. It was a bit salty. Late that night, I sprawled on my bed, truly persistent. These lunatics didn't seem so repulsive anymore. I turned over and gazed at the bright moon outside the window. I thought for 5 minutes, then flipped out of bed. I grabbed my super shovel and tiptoed toward the backyard, drafting the plan for the 11th secret tunnel. I had already finished the drawings. Some habits just can't be changed. 3 years later, the censor's mansion became the most eccentric estate in the capital. There were 2 legends in the mansion. One was the world-renowned Protector General, unbeatable throughout the 9 provinces. The other was the rumored survivalist princess. Endless suitors lined up for 3 streets, but she broke their legs. Many came seeking alliances, mostly eyeing my wealth and the blueprints for those legendary survival mechanisms. I set a threshold for any potential husband. Must wear 50 pounds of gold silk armor daily, participate in monthly escape drills, and dig a new secret tunnel every year. Ha 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 ha. Who would dare accept? An 800-mile emergency military report arrived. Enemy forces had gathered in massive numbers and were marching toward the border. The whole mansion reflexively entered combat mode. Father put on his official robes to discuss strategy with the new emperor. Mother took her Dragon King halberd off the wall. Eldest and second brother armed themselves with swords and whips. The entire residence was placed under top-level lockdown. Ao Shue donned her red battle robe, ready to depart at a moment's notice, and I struck the copper gong of the courtyard, then began moving compressed rations into the tunnels. I was busy for 3 whole days. On the fourth day, the latest update from the border arrived. It wasn't an invasion. It was a diplomatic mission, a massive technical observation group from neighboring states. They had only one goal: to study under the Great Choose, survivalist princess and her cutting-edge defensive arts. This included top-grade lubricant formulas, pharmacological components for anti-smoke powders, blueprints for repeating crossbows, tunnel excavation science, and city pitfall layout guides. I was stunned for a moment. Then, my business soul awakened. 1 month later, the Great Chu Defensive and Survival Academy officially opened for enrollment. Dean Shin Mingshu lectured on subjects ranging from city defense mechanism layouts to tunnel excavation science, gas mask production, and escape route design. There were even courses on golden armor maintenance and elite fire and smoke suppression. It was a path to heaven for the new nobility. The line of applicants stretched from the inner city to the suburbs. Everyone wanted that one legendary skill. No matter what disaster happens, you will definitely make it home. This might be the best way for a coward to live. On the opening day, Ao Shui rushed back from the border. At night, we sat on the city tower drinking. She wore her red robe with a steel blade at her side. I wore 3 layers of golden silk armor, with the storm pear blossom needles still in my sleeves. The moon was full, and the night breeze was light. Below the wall were the lights of 10,000 homes. In the bustling city, she took a swig of wine, turned her head, and teased me. "Sister, are you still so afraid of death?" I swallowed a gulp of strong wine. The sting made my eyes water. I felt the hidden weapons in my sleeves, and looked at the glowing lights below. "My dear ones, if anyone dares to touch you, I'll kill them myself." Ao Shui laughed. She raised her bowl and clinked it against mine. Below the tower, eldest brother was chasing father to hide the wine pot. Mother was scolding them for being reckless. Second brother was writing journals of the border battles. I gazed at all of this, wrapped in my 3 layers of golden armor, carrying my hidden needles. Behind me was the 11th secret tunnel I dug. On second thought, I should probably dig one more.